Hello, everybody. Hope you all are doing well today. So I'm back again. It's your boy Ed0626. I know I got a lot of explaining to do. It's been quite a few weeks since I've put out a video. I think the last video I had was like somewhere early in March. And I apologize for that. Kind of dipped out for a few weeks there without any warning, but that's kind of the point of this video is I'm going to explain to you guys what I've been doing and how it's more or less going to affect me in the future. So that's kind of like why I'm going to title this video the way I am. It's basically investing in my future, and because recently I've gone back to school, and I've talked about this on previous videos before, how I'm going to a special broadcasting school, and I've talked about it on the podcast as well, and that's about halfway through now, so I can pretty much tell you guys and give you a good gauge of what I've been doing and what you may do if you decide to go down the route I'm going to, because let's be honest, when I was working for certain companies over the course of the last year and a half after I lost my job I really wanted due to COVID, I was kind of left wondering what was going to happen to me. Obviously I still had YouTube. I was starting the podcast and doing the podcast throughout that time with Eric, but I wanted to do more. And oftentimes in jobs I was working, there was a part of me that was sad because I feel as though that I wasn't living up to my fullest potential in what I wanted to do in life. So what I decided to do was around now, which is March, I was going to join a broadcasting school. I won't give the specific one, but there's one in New Jersey, and they do a really good job training people. They do a really good job finding people jobs in the industry, whether it's TV, radio, podcasting, basically anything in the broadcasting industry, you name it, odds are they've found people jobs. And it's great. Like, not everybody comes out a success story depending on how much they want to put towards in the career aspect of it once they graduate, quote unquote. So I decided that early in the year that's what I was going to do. And here we are 4 weeks in of the 8-week course, and I can honestly tell you that I've learned quite a bit. When I was in college, I worked in my radio station. I spent a lot of time there learning the ins and outs of radio, but I never really fully applied myself to what I could have done. I wasn't good with engineering. I wasn't good with certain engineering aspects in terms of working a board a certain way or hooking up equipment all that well. Oftentimes, I'd have to have my hand held for things like that just because technical stuff I don't really remember all that well. I have a really bad memory, I should preface this too. I have an awful memory. So when you have to teach me things a certain way, it's going to take me a couple of times before I really get a grasp on what I'm actually doing, if I'm being honest with you. So engineering was not something I did a lot of in college, even though I had a perfect opportunity to, more or less, but that was my own fault. And then certain aspects when it comes to recording and how to use my voice. I have learned that a lot better here. Now, I always did a good job with recording commercial spots and speaking on the radio and trying to keep myself entertaining, more or less. And I feel as though while I did good, people would tell me I would do a good job, but they wouldn't explain what I can do to be better. And there are plenty of people within the school, because everybody that teaches you in the school and works for the school has been successful in some way, shape, or form in the industry. And they have multiple hats, which is also important because in broadcasting, specifically radio and podcasting, which is something I want to get into, you have to have multiple hats. So recording is something that's very, very, very important. So I've learned a lot in terms of how to use my voice better, how to read a script better depending on what clients ask for. If they ask for a slower, sort of more whimsical read, or do they want like a car salesman type of ad, if it's like a certain ad that's supposed to sell you something more or less. So trying to figure that out has been a struggle sometimes, but at the same time, I think I'm starting to get a good grasp on it. There are certain classes out there that help cover things like that for me. It also helps me a lot in terms of how to edit that audio, which I'm going to start applying here a little bit more on the channel. Yeah, I know what I'm doing more or less, but there are certain nuances to it that I didn't really know of or think about before, and there's a couple different ways to do it. So I'm going to be experimenting a little bit as I continue to do more videos, hopefully in the next couple of weeks for you guys. I know the video editing has gotten a little bit better. It's improved somewhat, and I'm glad for that. And I hope you guys have noticed the effort I have been putting into making those videos of the past. But now we're going to start working on the voice a little bit. We're going to start improving on the voice a little bit. And that's really where I want to shine, and I want to show you guys kind of the things that I'm learning right now. And there's other things the classes teach you. There's a sports class, which I don't necessarily want to do sports. I don't mind doing like broadcasting sports, but if I wanted to do broadcasting sports, I want to do more like wrestling. I know it sounds completely ridiculous considering how much money sports broadcasters could make, but in all honesty, I don't see myself doing it because it involves a lot of preparation, analytics, and things of that nature, and I don't necessarily look at sports that way in an analytical aspect. I can maybe hold my own if we're talking about certain arguments within sports, but I'm more or less coming from a casual perspective and what the general public may feel in terms of the hardcore sports watcher, depending on the sport we're talking about here. It also doesn't help that most of the sports that they involve themselves with are Philadelphia-based sports, since the school is closer to Philadelphia than it is New York. So everyone's like, oh, you got to pay attention to Philly sports. And I'm like, fuck you. I don't give a shit about Philly sports. I care about New York. I only care about what the Yankees, Giants, Rangers, and Knicks do. And sometimes the football clubs, Red Bulls and NYFC. That's the only time I ever give a shit about New York sports. And maybe if we're talking the Jets, and how much they suck, because it's obvious they're garbage. And, the garbage can franchise known as the Islanders, and hell, even the fucking New Jersey Devils, the poverty franchise that they are. Things like that I can probably cover because they're already within sports that I watch frequently and that my teams play against very frequently, depending on the scheduling. So sports is not necessarily something I worry about. However, there's a lot of knowledge that I have acquired so far from that class, which will hopefully help me be a better broadcaster in the future. And then there's stuff like television. They have a whole ass TV studio there, which some people even make shows out of, depending on if it's being used or not. There's been talks between some of my classmates that, that's something they want to do, is they want to maybe produce a show within that studio, and that would be funny. I have talked to a few of my classmates about that. And I think the one thing I want to emphasize to kind of wrap up here is the classmates I have. When I was working in the radio station back at college, there was always a lot of schoolwork that you had to worry about. There was always a lot of drama within the station. Who's fucking who likes who? Is that affecting the overall morale of the station? Which it did. There was always little bullshit, drama-filled topics going on. And I didn't fuck with that, really. I tried to keep myself as professional as possible. Sure, I may have dabbled in something here and there, but nothing to the point where I wouldn't get my job done. Here, everybody wants the same thing. Everybody's fully passionate in what they're involving themselves into. Everybody knows what routes they want to take. And I've been in talks with a couple of my classmates, and they even want to do stuff with me, which is quite nice. So we'll see what happens with that, man. Graduation's only about 4 weeks away at the point of me making this commentary, so that's kind of what I've been dealing with. And if you couldn't tell, I feel a little bit more reinvigorated. I feel a little bit more focused. I know where my path is going to lead me in the next couple of weeks to the next couple of months. And I don't know what that means for the channel right now. I'm going to try and post as much as I can, but I just haven't played a whole lot of new games, and I just haven't seen a whole lot of interesting topics within gaming to talk about, or interesting topics between pop culture, society, things of that nature. Just nothing really interests me to talk about at the moment, which is why videos have kind of fallen to the wayside. But there's a couple things I'm going to talk about in the next couple of weeks or so. We'll see what happens. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for stopping by. Subscribe if you want to see more, turn notifications on, and of course, follow me on all the social media links you see down in the description below. And of course, as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and if you haven't done so already, invest in your future. It's the best thing you can possibly do, especially if you're someone like me who's almost 25 and wants to take that next step in his life. I'll see you guys soon. Take care.